In this episode of Discover Health Podcast, we're going to talk about how Lyme disease hid in plain sight in our home and what finally turned my wife's health around. Welcome to the Discover Health Podcast, where we explore the power of gut health, nutrition, and lifestyle to help you feel your best every day. I'm Dr. Josh Sharp, your guide on this journey to better digestion, more energy, and overall well-being. Each week, we'll dive into expert insights, practical tips, and real-life strategies to help you discover health. Ready to start discovering? Let's hit the trail. Welcome back to another episode of Discover Health Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Joshua Sharp, and joining me today is the most special guest that I've ever had on the podcast. No offense to any other special guests in the past, no offense to any other special guests that are going to come on the podcast in the future, but you can't hold a candle to this special guest. Today's special guest joining me today is Dr. Ginger Sharp, my wife. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks. You know who I kind of feel like?
Who?
I kind of feel like Jack Caglione, and getting the call, like being in Omaha after only 2 weeks and like getting the call up from the Royals. So I'm very honored to be here. So thanks.
I hope you knock it out of the park, just like Jack could.
But I'm bummed. Yep.
So today I'm sitting here with Ginger and we want to share our story, but it's really her story to tell. And we want to share our story with Lyme disease and the things that we went through. If you're a homeschool mom and you've battled fatigue, if you're battling brain fog, headaches, hormone issues, skin issues, gut issues, and you've tried everything, but you're still feeling stuck, this episode is for you. Today, you're going to hear what it was like for Ginger at her lowest point. We're going to talk about the mistakes that we made early on and the real changes that she's experienced since using our system. Her story is real, it's raw, and I believe it's going to give you hope. And that's our main goal with this episode today, is to give you hope that it can get better. So Ginger, let's start with what things were like when you were at your worst point with Lyme. What were your biggest symptoms? What were your biggest day-to-day challenges?
Yeah. So I think the most vivid memory that I remember about the worst time was really just me in the bedroom laying face down on the floor, and just headache, complete brain fog, my whole body ached, and just thinking, how am I going to do this day? How am I going to get through this day? How am I going to, help the girls and, do all the things I'm supposed to do? And I just even remember just using the walls to just pull myself up, and then just using the walls to keep me upright and kind of walk me through the house. So yeah, I just think that was probably the lowest point. I was thinking I don't even know how this is going to work. So
those were some difficult times for sure. And it really sheds some light on just how much things have changed since that point. So thank you, Lord,
yeah.
for those changes. Looking back, when do you think you were first infected? And were there early signs that were missed at the time?
Yeah, I sometimes find that it's hard to really pinpoint, oh, I don't really have I got this tick bite and then I had the rash and then that's when everything fell apart. I mean, to be honest, I feel like I had not felt great or felt like a person since I was in 8th grade. And I had a lot of health issues, a lot of injuries and things like that with sports through high school and even into college. And I never really, I was always just kind of pushing through. I was always just kind of, just trying to do what I could. I never really felt like I had the energy that I needed to have. And then just as time progressed and we went to, got into chiropractic school, I was trying different things. And then I would think that, oh, I'd get a little bit better. And then I wouldn't be better. And I just kind of felt like it was just kind of this cyclical pattern. But it was for a long time. I had not felt well in a long time.
Yeah. I described in the previous episode that it can be like a roller coaster, where the symptoms ramp up, but then they kind of die down and they seem like, oh, it's not quite so bad for a period
Yeah.
of time, and then it ramps up. And that cyclical nature sometimes I think can lead you down a path of confusion because it's like, oh, I'm better,
Yeah.
things are better. And then whenever things get worse, it's easy when it goes through that cycle, it's easy to try to explain away symptoms. Oh, well, I was under a lot of stress, or oh, well, this happened or that happened. And you explain away the symptoms. But speaking of that cyclical nature and the past that it can lead you down, what were some mistakes that you think that we made early on in this health journey? Things that you thought would help, but maybe didn't move the needle, or things that we thought would help that maybe were totally unnecessary?
Yeah, I don't think there was ever just like one thing, and I don't really think that necessarily like. I mean, Lyme is huge, and it is a big deal, and it affected me in really big ways. But it isn't just the Lyme; it was just there's like a lot of things. So anything that you do, I don't really feel like necessarily is a bad thing, but I think that a lot of it is just like I spent too much time on was adrenal fatigue. That was probably the biggest one. I felt like we did. I mean, everyone's just like your adrenals are fatigued. You have classic, adrenal fatigue, and I did all of the adrenal fatigue things that you could do. And I did. My adrenals were fatigued, and they were very unhappy. But it was just like not. We weren't getting anywhere with it. I would get a little bit better, and then I wouldn't, and then that, and then I also think thyroid. Yes, my thyroid was unhappy, and yes, I had a lot of the thyroid symptoms that you would have. Just sluggish. I feel like my TSH would kind of fluctuate back and forth. I had a lot of those issues, and we did focus on those things. But I think that I kind of it just wasn't deep enough. Like just doing glandular things. I don't feel like for me was just we weren't going deep enough into that. And then I also, you kind of were talking about like that cyclical, it was very cyclical. A lot of times too, Lyme just kind of really wreaks havoc on your hormones. So a lot of times I was just attributing a lot of my symptoms. Well, I'm on my cycle right now, and so then that's why I'm bad. And then after the cycle I would feel a little bit better. So I just kind of fell into that where I was chasing hormones a lot, and just trying to like balance estrogen, and I was taking progesterone cream for a while, and I feel like those all things have its place, but it's just not root cause. It was not. We didn't. We stopped there for too long. I kind of felt like.
Yeah, I totally agree. Looking back on it, our focus was so much on what really ended up being symptoms
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
really ended up being effects. And we were missing the boat. We were missing the cause. We were missing the forest for the trees type of a thing. So
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
during this struggle, during this time, were there times that you felt dismissed or misunderstood by doctors or other people around you, like the guy that's interviewing you right now?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I honestly, because I had not felt well since eighth grade, I don't really know that I knew how bad I was or how bad I felt. And if I did feel bad, like, and when I was feeling really bad, I didn't tell anybody. And I think that was um, a mistake that I made. But I just felt like I kind of held it all in, and I didn't really tell people, and no one really knew how bad I felt or that I was really sick just because I wasn't saying it. I was just trying to push through. I'm trying to be that super mom. I'm trying to, be this godly wife. I'm trying to be this godly mom, and I've got all these tasks to do, and I'm just push through, push through, push through. God give me strength. God give me, all the things that I need for the day. And I mean, and He did. Um, but yeah, I think that I'm not really sure that I knew how sick I truly was.
Looking back on how bad things were for you, I'm amazed at how you were able to make it through. I'm
Yeah,
amazed at how you were able to kind of like just grin and bear it and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and trudge through. Um,
yeah,
but I have to say that you kept it all in. It
Yeah.
appeared on the outside that you were holding it all together. But people didn't really see what was behind the scenes. And so, just looking back at the struggle that it was to where you are now also just makes me realize, how strong you are. And I'm thankful for that effort. I just wish that we had known what we know now back
Yeah.
then. We could
That's
have
fair.
made some bigger changes back then.
Yeah. And
So,
honestly, I just like attribute it to the Lord. The Lord just gave me the strength. He just gave me the endurance. He gave me what I needed for that time. He was sustaining me. He was carrying me through. So it was really like the Lord that you're seeing because yeah, when I look back, I'm like, I don't even know. I don't even know how I did any of those things, knowing how bad that I was feeling compared to like where I'm at today for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
people may know this. Hopefully, they do. Maybe they don't. But one of your most important roles is that of a homeschool mom.
Hmm.
So, what was the hardest part of trying to keep up with the kids, the household, and homeschooling while you were sick?
Yeah, I think the biggest is the guilt. I think was is probably the hardest part of just not being able to do it well and really just like to be present and just to be able to be intentional. There were along with the Lyme and the sickness and all of that was a lot of irritability, a lot of anger, had a lot of anger issues, very, very, a lot of control issues, things like that, that kind of comes with that can come with that territory. And I just remember, I mean, there was a one time where like I was like, I mean, Milo was probably 4, I think, at the time. And like, I was like yelling and like, she was scared, like I could just see the fear in her eyes. And I was like, what's wrong? Like, why and she's like, Mom, like, you're yelling and it's scaring me. And that was just kind of one of those moments where I was just like, oh my gosh, like and again, I didn't even realize what I was doing. That's just in the moment of that fight or flight. And I was fighting and I was, really riled up and just realizing that I was reacting to, all of these things that, and again, she's 4 and it's homeschool. It's not like, it's not like it was, it's like, get the shape. It's a circle. How many times do I have to say it's a circle? But I just kind of felt like, that was like a big shift of me realizing, oh, this isn't good. I don't want to be this mom. I don't want to the homeschool to look like this. I don't, so and after that, anytime I would speak to her, I would whisper just because I really needed to make that shift of, okay, you're reacting and just really trying to be intentional about responding in a more appropriate way of like, okay, let's make circles and we can say, sing songs and those kind of fun things. But yeah, I just think that, looking back, it's just like the guilt of just not being able to be um, gracious and present and intentional about what we were doing.
First of all, thank you for sharing stuff like that and, being vulnerable to share. And I think there's probably a lot of listeners and viewers out there that could probably resonate with that. Like sometimes you don't even know the why. You're reacting, you're angry, you're frustrated, and people don't understand that your body doesn't feel good. Your body is sick. And so it's hard to have a loving,
Yeah.
gracious, patient attitude when your body is stuck in that hyper stressed out mode. And
Yeah.
I think what you just talked about there really paints the picture of being stuck in that fight or flight, being stuck
Yeah.
in that place where your body feels overwhelmed. Your body is basically just barely hanging on. And so you're just, your body is
Yeah.
just reacting.
Reacting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I also feel like um, it's one of those things where, like, some people are like, well, I've never been that sick, or I don't really know how that is. But it's like, just think about it. Like when you are sick, whenever you've got sinus congestion, or you do have a headache, or you are, you have flu-like symptoms, or whatever it is, it's really hard to be patient. It's really hard to be selfless. It's really hard to want to, serve other people. I mean, you just really don't feel good. And
Yeah.
so, and but you give yourself the grace period during that sickness that you're having. Um, but when you're chronically ill, I think that, and you don't maybe not aren't realizing or whatever, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to choose to love every day anyways, the way God calls us to love, let alone when you're sick and you've got just a lot more stuff going on. That just kind of adds fuel to the fire. It makes it harder for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about what things were like the before. We've talked a little bit about, we're just basically scratching the surface of some of the
Yeah.
symptoms and the difficulties that you went through. But we want to give hope to people that are
Mhm.
struggling with this type of thing.
Sure.
So let's talk a little bit about what's changed for you in the
Okay.
last year or a little bit, maybe a little bit longer since starting our system and what we do now. What improvements have you noticed most?
Yeah, the energy is definitely there. I can do the day. I can do the things I need to do during the day and then not crash tomorrow for 4 weeks. Because there was a lot of times, especially because I was working. I was working for a little while. I was working 2 days a week. Just, it's very part time, but I was working 2 days a week. And then I went down to where I was just working longer 1 day a week. And it was really like, those other 6 days, I was just like getting myself prepared and getting myself ready for that one day that I could just be, had to be the doctor and had to be a problem solver and do those things. Where, and then I feel like the rest of the day, like I would crash, the rest of the week, then I would crash, and then again, it was kind of the cycle of like crash for as long 3 or 4 days, and then trying to build yourself back up. So the energy for sure is different. Brain fog, like I was where I couldn't connect words. Like I knew that we were, I was going to talk about the door, like grab onto the doorknob, but I couldn't come up with the word doorknob, and like just connecting sentences. So like that's gone. I don't really have the headaches that I had once had. But I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed is just like a desire to want to live, like, and I know that maybe sound a little morbid, but like just like a desire to want to do the day, so many times and so many prayers that I had was like, God, help me want to do this. Help me want to get up and not function nap to nap or rest time to rest time, but really just want to be alive and be well and to go out and do the things that we want to do. So it's really just like the desire to be a godly woman and the desire for my family and to do community and to have like a purposeful life.
Hey, friend, real quick. If you've been enjoying this episode and you're looking for high quality, professional grade supplements that you can trust, I've got something for you. Check out our curated online store at discoverhealth.gethealthy.store. We've handpicked practitioner grade supplements that can be delivered straight to your door. And to say thank you for listening, you can use the code FIRST10 to get 10% off your order. That's discoverhealth.gethealthy.store. Your health simplified. Yeah, I mean, the difference is so stark and dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't come all at once.
No, no.
It's not going to be like that. You're not going to go from chronically ill and all the stuff that you had to like overnight, like, oh yeah, today I'm fixed.
Yeah.
What were
And I
some
think,
of the small, oh,
oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I just think, and I think that was hard too. Like that was one of the hardest things is because like, okay, we're doing this stuff and I was still having bad days, okay, we're doing all of these things that, we know are going to help us. We were doing the drainage, we were doing the parasite cleanses, we were doing the mold, and we're doing this stuff, but I was still having bad days and I was still like getting to kind of discouraged along the way. Um, and so I think that was a hard part about it because in my mind, I thought, okay, well, I'm doing it now. I should be better. But really, I hadn't felt good since I was in eighth grade. So it's, it's gonna thank the Lord that it didn't take me that long to recover, like from eighth grade till now. But it does take time and it can get discouraging. So yeah, I think that yeah, that was kind of a hard part. What were you gonna say? We said something else.
I mean, you're leading me right into it.
Oh, okay.
So it is frustrating and it is difficult
Hmm.
while you're in it. And
Yeah.
it was a very interesting dynamic for me because I'm on one side, I'm husband, you
Yeah,
know,
right.
and it's they tell you in school it's really difficult to treat your family.
That
And
is
I
true.
and I 100% agree. I think that's very difficult. But then on the other side, of the coin, like I was also
Yeah.
working to try to help you through and put together a process. And it was a very interesting dynamic because I had been finding things in practice working with clients
Yeah.
that were moving the needle, that were making differences, that were changing. And then I was, excited to come home and like, hey, this is going well for these people.
Yeah.
So what were some of the small wins along the way that gave you hope even before those big changes came? What did you
Yeah.
notice?
Yeah. And it's funny because, it's also hard to be a patient of a family member that it's a doctor also, because there is that, yes, you're my husband and those things, but then they're also your, also my doctor. And like, it was, you're my husband and I'm trying, and I'm looking for validation and I'm looking for the compassion. I'm looking for those things, but then you're also my doctor, saying, try these things. And so that is a different, interesting dynamic. But I feel like we did it, we fared it pretty well. Um, and I just think that I started noticing some of the little things was like I was starting to have more good days than bad days, and really the crashing. Like we would go before when I was really sick, we would go just for the weekend to visit family, and it would take me 3 to 4 weeks to recover from that. And then as I started, getting better and really working on that drainage a lot, then I felt like it took like 2 weeks. Was recovering faster. And like in the grand scheme of time, 4 weeks to 2 weeks is a lot. It doesn't always feel like that. But from 4 weeks to 2 weeks, that's a lot, like I was being able to recover and kind of get through that. Um, so I was having more good days in a row, and then I was also to recover faster. And some of the things like I was getting a lot of relief when we were doing the infrared sauna. That was really helpful. I was just like really like starting to like sweat things out and really pull toxins out through that. And a lot of like the symptoms with Lyme is that one of the symptoms is that you don't sweat. And so then you're not able to drain things out through your skin, which is a big um a big thing for your body to be able to drain is through your skin. And when you can't sweat, then that everything just kind of stays inside. So really that infrared sauna was really, really helpful. The other big thing and is coffee enemas. Those were a huge game changer because I was anytime and even still now, anytime if I'm having a bad day or I'm not feeling quite right, those coffee enemas just really help pull toxins out, help stimulate that vagus nerve. I mean, it just does so many things. I felt like that was also kind of a game, like something that at first I wasn't too sure about, but it really, really helped along the way.
Yeah, I'm so thankful for the coffee enemas because I noticed changes when you started doing that.
Yeah.
That's one of the main reasons I'm thankful for it. Also, the coffee enemas have been an endless source of inside jokes in our household. We've had so
Fair.
much so much fun talking through those situations, and so
Yeah. Our poor
I
children, right? Yeah.
yeah, our poor kids. We didn't ruin them other ways. We've definitely
This
ruined
is
them
it.
very,
This is how we're
very
doing
ways.
it. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, how do you feel like healing has affected family life,
Yeah.
homeschooling, your energy levels, energy for the kids, and even our marriage?
Yeah. One of the things, so like with homeschooling, we do classical education. And one of the big things with one of the focuses for classical education is asking good questions in order just to help the girls think, be good thinkers, and be good problem solvers. And I think that with the clearer mind and the more energy and the more intentional things that I can have while we're doing school, the better questions I've been able to ask. And we've been able to have better conversations, deeper conversations. We're really able to think things out and just have really fun perspectives. It's fun to hear your girls. I mean, they just think so different. Like, they have such different minds than I do. And they just, when you get to ask these questions and have these conversations, you can just like, you get to hear their perspectives and their thoughts on things and in ways that like I never would have thought of. And so that's really, really fun. And just really helping to be just more present with them. So that's been really good, and just having that more energy to do that as well. And I think with our marriage, I feel like it's just less about like, oh, woe is me, and I'm sick and I need help, and just like less about just like me and where I'm at, like kind of this victimhood, and more about how can I be the best wife, and really just having that desire, like kind of like we talked about before, like having this desire to be the best wife and like the best help meet for you as like I'm designed to be in the marriage. Um and less about what can I do for me, and more what can I do for us and our marriage. Um, and like I said before, it's really hard to choose love whenever you feel awful. And love is very selfless, and that's hard when you feel like today could be my last day and I don't feel good and I don't want to. It's really hard to choose those things. So I just feel like I'm able to do my part better in the marriage as well. I don't know if you think that or not, but that's what I think.
I do.
Okay.
I do think that. Great
Okay.
job.
Okay. Thanks.
Great job in the marriage. So, were there times you kind of alluded to this a couple times, but were there times that you thought that you weren't going to make it and
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
were afraid?
I don't know that honestly, this I don't know. Maybe this sounds bad. I don't know. I wasn't really afraid. I was just like, this is it, because I cannot. I mean, I didn't know what else to do. I just cannot imagine doing this day. I cannot. I just no motivation, just no desire. There was just this is it. Like I just felt awful, and so yeah, I did have some days where I was just like, okay, you know, um, yeah, this is going to be my last day, and so yeah, you would think that I would be like, okay, maybe if this is my last day, I should do things differently. But yeah, I was just so awful that it didn't matter. I was okay with it, I guess.
Yeah,
And it
I think
wasn't
that's what.
like, not like, I'm not having like suicidal thoughts, and it wasn't suicidal or I wanted to take my life. It
Mhm.
wasn't any of that by any means. It was just more of like, my time has run out, like I have nothing left.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things about a chronic illness, one that's been there for a long time, is it just beats you down.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you're really, really sick for a week. You
Yeah.
can feel really bad, but you also still have hope. Like, okay, well, in a couple days,
Yeah.
I'll
Right.
probably
Right. There was
get
a light
better.
at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. That's right.
But when
Yeah.
it's just beating you down and beating you down for so long, over and over and over again, years, I mean, yeah, I feel like one of the things that it does robs you of joy, number one. And you talked
Yeah.
about that, feeling like you didn't want to participate in life,
Yeah.
like to function in the world, I should say. And then number two, it can rob you of hope as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
So during those times, those difficult seasons where you're struggling with brain fog, where you're struggling with, you know, hormone crashes, where you're struggling with that extreme fatigue, if you could go back and talk to
Mhm.
yourself, what would you say?
Yeah, God taught me a lot during all of that time. And I think the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway is that you don't have to do it alone. Like I pretty much isolated myself and I didn't talk about it and I didn't say it and I was just gonna, do it the American way, like just, pull yourself up and just do it kind of thing. And I didn't really realize how impactful or how important community was, and collaborating with other people. Um, Honestly, I kind of feel like I would have healed faster if I would have had a support group of some sort. I don't exactly know what that would have looked like, but just a community of people or a community of like-minded people that kind of knew what I was going through and knew what I felt, what I was feeling, even just to say, you know, you're having a bad day, you're okay, and let's move forward. And I think that you did that a lot. I mean, there, especially as we were going through kind of more towards the end, you were, you're just having a bad day, it's good, you're going to be fine, you're going to recover, and then we're going to move on. And sometimes I just needed that to get through that day, but just to even have more people around me, just encouraging, you know one another, being able to encourage and just brainstorm things and just be like, because again, I'm having a lot of brain fog. And it was just like, well, didn't you say the other day that your sauna made you feel better? And I was like, oh yeah, I did, and then, to do the sauna and you would do that. But it was just, yeah, there was just so much brain fog and just kind of so much stuff going on that you kind of forget about the things that, how to help yourself. And so just even having that encouragement. So I think I would just say, surround yourself with community and collaborate and work together with others to build one another up and encourage, which sounds very biblical to me.
It sure does. In fact, I've got a whole podcast episode on that. Six Hindrances to Healing is the series, and the episode is Six Hindrances to Healing Isolation.
Isolation. Yeah.
I've got a whole episode devoted to that because being isolated really can prevent you from healing.
Yeah.
And in a group setting and community, feeling loved and having that support system, actually, research has shown you've got a significant advantage there in terms of healing.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to another homeschool mom or a stay-at-home mom with kids that's listening right now, who's exhausted, who's foggy, who doesn't know where to turn?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just to remember that, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. I think that God has designed our bodies for quality, purposeful life. And if you give your body what it needs and take out what it doesn't need, and that's physically, that's emotionally, that's spiritually, that's mentally, that you can heal your body. Your body is very capable of healing. But not only healing, but like having that abundant life that I'm talking about, as far as like finding the joy and enjoying life and having the desire to live and wanting to do life and wanting to do all of the things with your kids and your spouse and all of that. Yeah, because there are just so many times that it was just like, I just want to, and that, I mean, that God wants that for you too, and so there is hope there. It is possible. You are designed to do those things. And so sometimes we just need that community. Sometimes we just need some direction. Sometimes we just need some coaching. Sometimes it's just accountability. And sometimes it's just we need someone to listen, And
Yeah.
so those are all possibilities. There's hope for you for sure.
I think this is partly experience, right? And I think you had a similar experience as well in practice, working with patients one on one. I think there's a whole group of people out there. They're what I would call like Lyme zombies. They're walking
Mhm.
around with extreme fatigue, those cyclical
Yep.
symptoms. They're
Yep.
walking around with the quote unquote thyroid issues, or they're walking around with the quote unquote hormone imbalances,
Yep.
and they just think, oh, my quote unquote my hormones are messed up. But really, there's so much more going on underneath the surface. And I think you and I had the opportunity to discover that, with working with clients one on one, just
Oh,
how many
yeah.
of those
Mhm.
people it ended up being a big factor was Lyme or some other kind of
Yeah.
chronic
Yeah.
bug,
Yeah.
Babesia or something like that under the surface. So if someone listening is wondering, could what's going on with me be Lyme
Mhm.
or something deeper? What would you tell them about taking the first step to getting health or getting
Yeah.
help, I should say?
Yeah, I think taking our quiz. I mean, we have a quiz that will help. It like asks questions to kind of give you an idea if you have Lyme, and I think that would be the great indicator for whether your symptoms are contributed from Lyme or not. We've got podcasts about Lyme, and then obviously your Grow program. I mean, basically, that's just our experience, our what we should have done, our, I mean, there's just so much information in that. Like if I would have had our Grow program, what a tool that would have been. I think our recovery would have been faster. I think my recovery, I mean, I would have been able to do so many things sooner. I think that honestly, like just mentally and emotionally, I would have been able to release so much more things faster. So yeah, I would again, I wish I would have known what I know now then, but that's not how that works. And so I think that's why God has us here now to be able to share that. But really just signing up for the Grow program, um, it is huge. And really for nothing else, just being in for accountability and just like a group of like-minded people. The encouragement alone that we're getting, that I'm even still getting in our group program, I mean, is worth it, it's weight in gold. I mean, it's just something really cool that, yes, it's hard sometimes to look back and wish, I was better and healthier whenever, the kids were little and going through homeschool and all of that. Um, but I just am also thankful for the experience because now we can use that experience and use the wins and the losses to help people, encourage one another, and just really give hope to those people. So I think that God is just like so powerful in that.
I agree with that. I'm going to say something ridiculous
Okay, oh boy,
here, but
oh boy,
you know, it's so interesting now, knowing what we now know, knowing the mistakes that we made, and knowing that we kind of fumbled our way and stumbled our way into finding some things that moved the needle, some things that finally worked. And then finally, I think figuring out like, oh, these are the pieces. This is what we need to be doing. And then moving things in the right direction. Um, it took time. I mean, it took years
yeah,
to go through that. And just think about the years that you were struggling. And so when I see another person that is dealing with a lot of the same symptoms, and when I see people that are dealing with some of the same struggles that we went through, um, and they're getting better and it's like improving and it's like going, I mean, maybe not as fast as they would want, but when I
yeah,
think back to our story, it's like,
yeah,
wow, this is going really fast.
yeah,
I'm excited, number one, because it's like, okay, wow, we're hopefully preventing this person or helping this person not suffer for years and years. But it's also just like I'm a little bit disappointed, like, oh, what if we had known this sooner? What if we had been able to take these actions sooner? What could have been?
yeah.
So first of all, thank you for
Sure.
taking the time to be interviewed and being vulnerable and sharing your story. I think it's going to be an encouragement to so many that are struggling. If Ginger's story resonated with you today, I want to invite you to take the next step. That step could be taking our free quiz. It's free. It just takes a few minutes. There's not 100 questions or anything like that. We just try to narrow it down to some
Mhm.
specific questions. And the quiz is called Could It Be Lyme? Just to kind of give you an idea if your symptoms could be related or pointing towards Lyme or possibly another stressor, another biotoxin, or another type of, what we would call like a stealth bug or something like that. Or second, like if you're ready, like if you feel like, okay, yeah, I already know this is my situation, I need help, I want to get out of the weeds, then check out our program where we walk families step by step through the same process, not the fumbling and stumbling part, but the things that actually worked, the same process that Ginger used. And if you're unsure if it's the right fit, then just schedule a free discovery call with me, and I'll walk you through what we do. I'll figure out what's going on with you, what your goals are, and if you're a good fit, we'll definitely be there for you. If not, we'll point you in the best possible direction that we possibly can. So we just want you to know you don't have to stay stuck in fatigue. You don't have to stay stuck in brain fog. Healing is definitely possible. And I would love to help get you there. The links that we talked about today are going to be in the show notes below this episode in the YouTube and also in the show notes that are below your podcast in the description area. There's going to be those links that we talked about today. So thank you so much for joining me, Dr. Ginger.
Thanks for
And
having me. I'm so honored to be on
you
the podcast.
should be honored. I
Yeah, I know.
mean, this is a rare thing to be on a
It is.
podcast like this.
Well, yeah, your spouse's podcast for sure.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It's a big deal. I'm kind of a big deal. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, I
I,
do.
with caveats.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Thanks
thanks for having me.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks again. And thanks for listening to Discover Health Podcast. Thanks for tuning in to the Discover Health Podcast. Remember, your health is a journey, not a destination. Keep exploring, and we'll see you next week.